So here at Ignition, when we review vehicles, we like to strongly consider who our target market is.
That's exactly right. With the Fiat 500, it's about being young, funky and vibrant. And to be honest, you really couldn't have picked a better pairing.
I fully agree with you, and that's why I brought my white shoes with me today.
Who would have thought? You and I in a beautiful baby blue
Fiat 500 with a white steering wheel.
Listen, we are so progressive, we are so hip.
Now you see why I wore my white shoes, just to match his colour scheme, you see.
But your sense of fashion is unbelievable. This actually reminds me of like that jam and marmalade joke. I just can't believe they've jammed us into this car, but we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it right there, yeah.
You know what? I know people are going to say, this is not, we are not the target market, let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Yeah.
Maybe in Cape Town this might make a lot more sense, but this is a girlie's car.
It is. Everything about it screams feminine.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't find a single thing that makes me feel macho in this car, besides the fact that I'm next to a big burly man. But besides that...
Are you about to propose?
Well, I mean, we are in a baby blue car with white trimming, so yes. And I think for who they're aiming at, it makes a lot of sense. Because if I was my sister and I'm sitting in here, I'd be loving this car.
I think maybe it's just a South African thing. Like, our guys are so aware of like what we drive and the image and the status, you know, that's why we drive double cab buckies, because we're such men.
Exactly.
Whereas, I mean, look, take away the baby blue and the white interior, I don't feel bad sitting in this car and driving it. And I think, we're cruising around Parkhurst. Imagine in Cape Town with the narrow streets. There's a lot of practical sense that this car makes.
You talk about, you know, the whole Italian flair, and you can feel it. It's almost like we're in a car version of a Vespa.
Spot on.
There we go. Like,
spot on.
Just looking at the way it's designed, you know, it's neither masculine nor feminine. It's more metrosexual, I'd say. And that's what this car really is.
I love the visibility in this car. I mean, sure, nice that we're in the lounge, so it's got the panoramic roof letting a lot of light in, but it is a very, very subtle change from a styling perspective.
I see they've got the nice infotainment system that you got here. I think they call it the Uconnect.
Yeah.
So I think that's new in this car, but it is still a smart car.
I do like what they've done with the rear taillights. I mean, it seems like such a small thing, but to actually bring the bodywork colour into the middle of the taillight actually really makes it stand out. Imagine at night, looks pretty cool as well.
Yes.
But the big talking point is, for the first time ever, the Fiat 500 in South Africa, thanks to the fuel conditions being sorted out, we now have a small 900cc turbo engine.
Yeah, 2-cylinder turbo engine, which is still blowing my mind. And I think if no one told me that we were driving in a 2-cylinder car, I would think that we're driving in a small little 4-cylinder, because it doesn't sound like a 3-cylinder.
Well, you brought up the Vespa. It's sounding very much like a bike. And that is my biggest concern. I almost prefer the 1.4 natural aspirator they used to have, because it gets a move on. There's no problem getting it going, but it's very, very noisy. And that sound, I mean, it's not... 3-cylinder sounds quite sexy.
It does.
This is a little bit like a little scooter. I'm not convinced. And fuel consumption?
You know, they claim, I think, in the 4s, but if I look over there, we are sitting in the 8s.
I tried, and that's kind of what we've been getting. So it's a tricky one. I mean, that is the big talk, is this new little small capacity engine. I wonder about the efficiencies of the 2-cylinder from an environmental and pollution perspective. I don't like the sound of it. It's a punchy little car that goes nicely, but wow, I just start thinking about competitors. In particular, I think of like a car like the Opel Adam with that 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo engine, which is just pure class.
And the price the same.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, where they have done well, I think at 180 to get into the entry-level pop is not bad. That's where they are better than the Adam, because Adam starts at about 200,000. But I think when you go to this top spec lounge and all the nice little detailings, you spot on the same price. I think the Adam's obviously a little bit bigger, and I think appeals to men and women a lot more than Fiat 500.
But you know, all in all, I think a Fiat 500 buyer is a Fiat 500 buyer. And it's almost like a mini buyer. You know, you get into the car once and you always will want to have a new one. It's an interesting concoction they've put together for somebody who's looking for something trendy. This does work. In an era where these small and retro cars are now the in thing, A lot of the manufacturers have decided to grow up with the target market. But with the Fiat 500, on the other hand, it's a bit different because they're constantly reintroducing themselves to this funky hip generation.
Yeah, I mean, you speak about people like Mini, where the cars got bigger and bigger and bigger. For more than 50 years, the Fiat 500 has stuck to its guns. It's done what it's always done and seems to be super popular because it's sold well, not only globally, but yeah, in South Africa as well. And I think that's probably its biggest selling point. It hasn't changed.